How in the world is the NHL going to mess this up? Well, they showed us exactly how they're going to mess it up.
The ice is set, the crowd's alive. Jay and Jen, they've arrived. Grab your mic, it's game time. Welcome to Hockey and Podcast. Where the puck drops and the stories last. Jay and Jennifer make the moments blast.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode number 9 of the Hockey and Podcast. I'm your host, Jay. With me, as always, is Jennifer. Now, some of you may know her as my wife. Some of you may know her as the intelligent hockey analyst that is on a very low-budget podcast. Jennifer, say hello to the nice people today.
I don't know to be flattered or semi-offended, but hello, everybody out there. How are you doing?
I think we can each say we're both miserable today. Would you agree with that statement?
Yep, absolutely.
Why are we miserable today?
It's just so cold. It is so cold. It's been super cold for about a week and a half, and then it snowed a lot. It snowed a lot, and the snow's not going anywhere. It's still here. It's sticking around. Usually when it snows in Connecticut, we don't get the kind of snow that we got this time. And if we do, it melts by now. But we're about a week since the big snowstorm, and we're still trudging through it. So
It's been pretty miserable. The cold, it's single digits, as many people across the country are experiencing. As you mentioned, we usually go maybe a few days, maybe a week, and then it gets back into the 30s, maybe even the 40s. Not this year. Global warming definitely missed out on 2026, so, maybe that'll pick up at some point.
that's not how global warming worked, but okay, we'll give you that.
Jen, today we are going to cover a couple of very interesting topics. The first segment, we're going to take a look at the NHL power rankings before the Olympic break. After that, in segment 2, seeing as how we are on a podcast, or we do a podcast, we thought it would be interesting maybe to share one or two podcasts that we each enjoy listening to other than our own podcast. Now, you definitely listen to our podcast on a regular basis, don't you?
Most of the time, I do. Yeah. Did I listen to yours? Your one separate from me? No. I probably listened to one the entire time that you were doing it, because I have no interest in hockey cards. But this one, yeah, I listened to.
Side note, people, if you want your wife to listen to a podcast or maybe a YouTube channel that you're on, the only way it's going to happen is if you have them on your podcast. Because outside of that, they just won't care.
Oh, wait a minute. Am I on your podcast, or are you on my podcast?
We're on our podcast.
Okay, that's better. That sounds good. Okay.
So kicking things off, we talked about the cold weather that we have here. One spot you would think there's no cold weather is down in sunny Florida. That's not happening right now. Florida is pretty cold right now. Interestingly enough, Florida is going to host an outside hockey game this weekend. For those of you who don't know, the Tampa Bay Lightning will host the Boston Bruins in the Stadium Series. Now, again, this is an outdoor show or an outdoor game. We're going to just go over very briefly where you can see it, what to expect, and then just kind of our overall thoughts on the game itself. So I mentioned it was part of the 2026 NHL Stadium Series. The matchup is between our Boston Bruins and the Tampa Bay Lightning. The date is on Sunday, February 1st at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and the location is Raymond James Stadium in Tampa, Florida. For those of you who might not know, this is the stadium where the Tampa Bay Buccaneers play their football games.
Football.
Not football, as in kick, 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 as in football, run, 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 touchdown. Where can you see this game? Well, this will be hosted on ABC, ESPN, ESPN Plus, and on Hulu, depending on the package you have. So you have multiple broadcasting space to go see this game.
Or you could always jump on a plane and go down to the equally cold Florida and grab a ticket.
Whenever you watch those outdoor games, we've seen they've had a couple at Fenway Park. What they do in all these stadiums and why these stadiums don't really fit in, I think, to hockey is they have to put the ice in the center of the stadium for the most part. The seats are so far away at that point, you're really not seeing too clearly, I would think, what's going on. So I guess a lot of people are there just for the experience, I guess. For $300 to $1,200 US, I would hope that you have some pretty good views.
Jump chains, no big deal. Or you could just stay nice and warm in your house and watch it on TV like we will be. Yeah, I think they're trying to play off the idea of the outdoor pond hockey-esque, but it kind of turns out a little bit more like that infamous movie we just watched, Mystery Alaska. So, I don't know. We'll see.
They've already had an outdoor event in Florida, so this will be the second one. But this one is a little more interesting because the rivalry has a little more heat to it. Bruins, Tampa Bay Lightning, two of the better teams in the league this year. When it comes to the weather that's happening, as we said, in Florida, I don't know how the NHL gets so fortunate, but it's been under 40 degrees for a while now. This is actually helping them to prepare the ice and get it into top-notch shape before the game. If you've seen anything online, one of the things that they're doing is they're putting a little tent over the ice so they can keep it nice and cold in there, make sure the ice gets nice and firm or whatever they need to do, and then remove the tent once the game happens. Well, the low temperatures in Florida are definitely helping with that situation. They're going for a theme in the Stadium Series game.
Yeah, this part's a little bit weird, but
Because it's at Raymond James Stadium, as I mentioned, this is where the Buccaneers play. Now, a Buccaneer is a pirate. Arr, matey, shiver me timbers type of pirate. So their idea is the entire field design and fan experience is going to go along with a Gasparilla Pirate Fest. This is something that happens in Tampa, and it's a massive annual celebration, some kind of pirate fest. So we can expect to see, along with a hockey game, a lot of pirate ships, a lot of pirate-themed staging, and a full festival vibe around the rink. Jen, let me ask you this question. When you go to a hockey game, are you hoping to see men wearing pantaloons and have eye patches?
no, not even remotely. I couldn't care less about any of that kind of stuff, but hey, Florida's a whole nother beast, so let Florida do their thing. Go for it. Whatever floats your boat.
I have a real problem with this game.
What's your problem?
When it comes to these outdoor games, you'll recall when they announced that they were going to do the Winter Classic. One game for the whole year, and it was amazing. It was done on New Year's Day, so you had a lot of eyes on it. There were no other games going on, and you knew exactly when this event was. It was unique. I remember saying to people in the hockey world, after that first game that was very successful, I said, how in the world is the NHL going to mess this up? Well, they showed us exactly how they're going to mess it up. They went from one game, being outside, to now multiple games in the course of the year under this Stadium Series kind of vibe.
Right, they kind of watered it down.
Watered it down's a great way to look at it. I asked a lot of people this year, hey, what is the day or what day is the Winter Classic being played on? Half of the people didn't know. The other half went, is that still going on, or is it just they just do a bunch of outdoor games now? So to the general public, even they see that it's been watered down and it's just not as important anymore. Add insult to injury, now we're doing it with pirates. I don't want to go to a hockey game and have some weirdo with a wooden sword walk up to me going, "Arr, matey, have you tried the Bucky Nuggets?" I don't know what a Bucky Nugget is. I mean, I do know what a bucket nugget is.
Hey, don't be slamming the Bucky nuggets. Those are actually the beaver nuggets. Bucky's beaver nuggets.
I take that back. Bucky's, I apologize profusely. I have been to your rest stops. They are just magical places to go to, and the nuggets themselves are wonderful. It was just the first thing that came to mind. I should have said something like pirate jerky. That would have been better, I think.
There you go.
Someone saying, "You want to try some pirate jerky?" I don't want to go to a hockey game and experience that. On top of that, I don't want to go to a hockey game and spend, let's just somewhere in the middle here, $600 to $700 for a ticket. And I'm sitting in a baseball stadium or a football stadium so far back that all I'm watching is a bunch of colored dots skating around on it.
In the freezing cold.
Well, people in Florida right now are freezing to death because it's in the 30s. We're in single digits. So if we go down there and the temperatures ends up being, let's say, 40 degrees at game time, we're okay.
Tropical. Tropical.
That's right. Us tourists are okay, but the people that live there with their year-round tans, they're freezing to death right now. It would be a great game if it was inside where the Bruins played or where the Lightning played, but unfortunately, it's going to be outside, and that's going to affect the game too. It's going to take away from the overall gameplay because that's what happens outside. Too many things, too many elements they have to contend with.
What's going to happen to the guys from up here who are used to being in the cold, like the cold, not just chilly, cold? You know, are they going to get a little more tuckered out being down there? I don't know if that's going to give Florida a little bit of an edge, but I guess we will see. What do you think?
I don't know if it matters. They're all finely tuned machines. Where I think the edge or it potentially could come in is the ice surface. Let's say that temperature starts creeping up over 40 degrees. I'm sure the NHL has all these things in place to make sure things go right, but it's going to affect the ice surface. So now we're talking bad bounces. We're talking slower play. I know that happens in the colder temperatures. When it snows, for instance, it messes up the ice surface. The NHL is essentially trying to say, here is our big gimmick. It's outside. Ooh, check that out. I think this needs to go away. Maybe not all the way away, but maybe not so many games. Maybe say, okay, we're going to do the Winter Classic on New Year's Day, then pick a rivalry. So let's just take, I don't know, the Chicago Blackhawks versus the New York Rangers. So maybe original 6 teams play. Maybe you do one in Canada, one in the US. I don't know. There needs to be less games because no one cares when it comes to the amount of these games. I loved what they did with the Bruins when they had them play in Lake Placid outdoors. That was kind of cool. Can we come up with something more original than, again, where the Tampa Bay Buccaneers play?
Well, I get what they're trying to do. I'm guessing that they're just trying to bring in more eyeballs, more eyes to the NHL. And that's great, to hockey. That's great. I think it's fantastic. Whatever brings more people in, but I don't know. I don't think that this is the right way to do it. I'm kind of with you on that.
If you want to get people to watch the game, make the game exciting. The NHL playoffs are exciting. When people tune into that, they get what the NHL is putting out there as far as a product. It's intense, it's fast, it's a rivalry, it's heated moments, it's passion, it's all those words lumped into one. Outside in a pirate stadium, who cares? Regular season, who cares? Sports have come down to who cares about the regular season. You look at basketball, you look at baseball, there's so many games. You can't care about every game. Your team just won't make it. That's what hockey is too. That's why during the season, not a lot of new fans check into hockey because the intensity isn't always there. Now you watch a Bruins Canadiens game, intensity's there all day long.
Right.
But that's because of a rivalry. But even then, you've seen some games watching them where the team that you can tell they're just not there. They didn't show up. And we're now adding into that more outdoor games so they could carry even a little bit less. And that is the bad product that some people are seeing that may turn them off from hockey.
It would turn me off.
Well, there you have it, people. A female would be turned off by watching boring outdoor hockey. I got to agree with her.
Well, especially if you can't see anything. I mean, if you're not going to be able to see anything, what is the point of being there? And then for us to be watching it from home, I'm used to a quality game. I don't know if it's going to be up to snuff, but we'll see.
What we'll do, we'll watch the game. And then in our next episode, we'll give you a brief overview. Were we right? Were we wrong? Did they pull it off? Did the doubloons wearing pirate mask, pirate hat, parrot on my shoulder thing work with the NHL? We'll let you know one way or the other. Now, moving on, we mentioned that we're pretty much past the midpoint of the season. The Olympic break is coming up very soon. We thought it would be an interesting idea to say, who are the NHL top teams so far at this point in the season? Now, we didn't want to give you our opinion. What we did is we went and found an article. It was on NHL.com. What they did was take 15 of their writers and had them rank their top 16 teams as far as power ranking goes in the NHL so far. There was a number of criteria that they went by. We're not going to go over all that. We're just going to look at this and say, let's look at their list. Let's see what they have. And maybe we break it down a little bit. Jen, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start from the bottom and work my way up. So from number 16 to number 1. Is that okay with you?
I suppose so.
Okay, so from the NHL article that was found in January 29th, 2026 on NHL.com, their number 16 team on their power rankings was, or is, the Anaheim Ducks. Number 15, the Florida Panthers. Number 14, the Utah Mammoth. Number 13, your New York Islanders. Number 12, the Connor McDavid Edmonton Oilers. Number 11, our Boston Bruins. Number 10, the Pittsburgh Penguins. Number 9, the Montreal Canadiens. Number 8, the Vegas Golden Knights. Number 7, the Buffalo Sabres. Number 6, the Detroit Red Wings. Number 5, the Minnesota Wild. Number 3, the Carolina Whaler Canes.
You skipped 4.
I'm sorry. Number 4 is Dallas Stars. Number 3 is the Carolina Whaler Canes. See, I was
trying to be smart and
be funny there, and I messed it. Yeah, messed it up. Okay, our top 2 teams, according to NHL.com's 15 writers, at number 2 are your Tampa Bay Lightning, who will be playing in a pirate ship this weekend. And the number 1 team, as far as the power ranking goes, are the Colorado Avalanche. Is there a team on there that surprises you one way or another, either in a good way or a bad way?
I'm going to be surprised by Boston. I mean, that's a pretty easy mark there because, again, as I have said this entire year, I'm shocked that they are doing as well as they are. The other one that I'm curious about, and I'm going to have to look into more, is the Utah Mammoth. That's interesting. Because now, how long have they been here?
They're the old Arizona Coyotes.
See? Keep forgetting all of that stuff.
The ones with the weird, desert-inspired uniforms.
Yeah.
I thought they looked cool when they
liked
first
them.
came out.
Yeah. All right.
But they turned into the Utah Mammoth, who I will say, I love their jersey.
I know you do. I do like the blue. Anaheim Ducks, nah, not so much. Florida Panthers, nah. You know what? The Islanders. I'm actually surprised that the Islanders are 13. How did they do this, Jay? Did they go by stats alone?
There was about, I think, 10 criteria. It was, win-loss record, goals for, goals against, road records versus home records. There was so many criteria, just too much to go over. So this is really, with all that lumped together, this is what they feel are the top 16 teams in the NHL right now.
Well, I mean, I guess given the fact that they are the ones who know what's going on, they know the ins and outs, I guess, deferring to their opinion is probably the best bet. I would have thought that the Islanders would be up a little further, more like around 9 or so. But hey, they made it to the top 15. Top 16, sorry.
So for me, the first team that jumps out is the Buffalo Sabres. You recall I don't know what episode it was, 2, 3, something like that. And I mentioned there were 5 organizations that were, and I used the word hot garbage, dumpster fire. Since then, the Buffalo Sabres have just been on tear, a tear.
Good job.
I mean, they have 30 wins so far this season. When we talked about them, I don't even know if they were a 500 team. They may have been close, but they were just losing games in the most unique ways, and now they're beating everybody. So I guess it's me. I guess I have some weird control over when I kind of slander a team. Okay, if that's the case, the Boston Bruins are just massive.
Oh, watch it, watch it, watch it, watch it.
Oh, okay. All right. The other team that's kind of, I guess you could say, surprising to me, and it's not in a good way, is the Edmonton Oilers. They have the 2 best players in the league, number 1 and number 2, I would say. But this just goes to show you their issues aren't those guys. Those guys are amazing. Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl, they're amazing. This team has no defense. The goaltending situation, we'll see. They made the move to acquire Tristan Jarry, who at times has performed, but still, they only have 27 wins so far this season, 19 losses, 8 overtime losses.
Why does it always seem to be the defense? It always seems to be that the defense is lacking on this team, and this team. I'm wondering, is it easier to find the superstars? You know, the guys that are just going to go to the net constantly, and your defense is just you get who you get. I mean, I don't know. It always seems that that's the problem. Defense always seems to be the issue.
I think that's part of it. I think more so it's, do you have the GM and the president in place to get you that well-rounded team? So that could be part of the equation. Are they getting the right guys? Next, are these guys performing? You could go out and get what you think is a top-notch defenseman because he played well for another team, and then he just doesn't perform in your city or for your team. Doesn't fit into the structure that you've implemented or the coach has implemented. So is it harder to get those guys? Defensemen on, yeah, if you're looking, but it depends on what your system is. Look at a guy like Cale Makar on the Colorado Avalanche. Amazing talent, amazing offensive talent, but he can play defense too. He's not the best defensive defenseman in the league, but he plays it well enough to where his inadequacies on defense are definitely made up by his offensive capability. But then you need guys behind him that can fill in that void. Someone to play next to him who maybe isn't so offensive minded, who'll take care of the store when he's away. Balance. That's where you see some of these teams like the Edmonton Oilers, where they're very top heavy as far as offense. They can score a goal. Can they stop people from scoring goals? So Edmonton definitely surprised me. The Bruins, as we said, very surprising. I didn't think they'd be as good as they are this year. We'll see where they end up. No surprise, though, at the top of the list, Colorado, the Lightning, the Hurricanes, the Stars, and the Minnesota Wild. I think those are the top 5 best teams in the NHL at this point in the season.
I would love to be able to support the Hurricanes. I would love to be able to, but man, they did us dirty. I can't get over it. I can't get over it. I don't know. Carolina Hurricanes, what do you call them? Hurricane, what do you call them?
The Whaler Canes.
The Whaler Canes. I'm glad. I'm happy to see where they are. I think it's great. But I'm still butthurt. So just saying.
Butthurt. Okay. We'll make with that what you will. Some notable teams, Jen, though, that didn't make this list are Toronto Maple Leafs did not make this list. The Washington Capitals did not make this list.
And that's a little surprising.
The New York Rangers are nowhere near this list. Then you have the Winnipeg Jets, who were unbelievable last year, nowhere near this list. You aren't seeing the LA Kings on this list, who were a powerhouse last year. So those teams aren't up there, but teams like the Ducks are up there. The Mammoth, the Islanders are up there. The Sabres are well up there. This is what I love about the NHL. From year to year, It doesn't matter what you did last year. It matters what you're doing now, and we're seeing it. We're seeing teams like the Toronto Maple Leafs, who it looks like they're starting to implode, and they have some incredible talent on that team. The New York Rangers, they're always in the playoff hunt. Not this year. Are they going to get rid of a lot of players and have to rebuild or retool, what have you? They're looking to offload Artemi Panarin. He wants a lot of money, and he's got a no-trade clause. So that's going to disrupt the team. The interesting point of this article is you want to check in with these teams now. You get these writers' opinions as far as why they are where they are. And then you check in with them at the end of the year and you kind of see where these same teams ended up. Jen, if you had to guess, in your best guess, what team do you think at the end of the year will not be on this list of the top 16? Which team falls out of it for you?
So falls out of the 16.
Yes.
I don't want to say the Bruins. I'm trying to hedge around this. Because I really want them to continue doing well, but at the same time, I kind of hope that they don't. So I think I'm gonna go with the Bruins and say they're probably not gonna. It's just so weird that they're having a decent season. It feels like they shouldn't be having a decent season, and because they shouldn't be having a decent season, something's gonna pop. I mean, they can't stay where they are. I don't know. I think it's going to be the Bruins. Well, possibly a couple others, but mainly the Bruins for me.
It's interesting because a lot of people felt that way at the beginning of the season. They thought the Bruins would be a lottery team, meaning they would have the chance to get a top 5 draft pick. They do have 2 number 1 picks this year, one from Toronto, which is why I keep rooting for Toronto to be bad. Because the more bad they are, the higher that pick is for us. Selfish, but that's okay. For me, Jen, I'm going to go contrary to what you said before, and I'm going to say I don't think the Islanders end up here at the end of the season. My only reason for it is they have some really nice players. They have what I think is the rookie of the year, Matthew Schaefer, an amazing defenseman. We talked about having great defensemen. This kid reminds me of Cale Makar in a way. He's got offensive capabilities up the wazoo, and he plays a very hardy defensive game too. Outside of that, who else on that team is going to help them? They've got decent goaltending. They have decent defense. Now, on the offensive side of the puck, they have guys like Matthew Barzal. They have Bo Horvat, who's playing pretty well. Then it starts to tail off. You still need to score goals to win games. Can't win a game 0-0. So for me, I think the Islanders are the team that may fall off this list when we get to the end of the year.
I did want to ask you, though, why, because you mentioned Panarin, I know we're not even remotely talking about the Rangers, but what are they giving a reason why they're getting rid of Panarin? Or why they would like to move on from him?
His contract's coming due, and they don't want to re-sign him. So when that happens, you're better off to move a player before the end of the year and get something for him rather than just hold on to him the end of the year and he walks anyway.
Well, it's interesting because when we watch games, like I say, the way that I learn the players is by hearing I can never pick up who's on the ice by the number of their jersey. So I'm always hearing when they're saying, Panarin's doing this or whatever, and I haven't been hearing his name very much. So I'm wondering, is he not doing what he was doing in the past?
No, he's performing wonderfully.
So I don't understand. If he's performing wonderfully, why wouldn't you? Well, how old is he?
He's in his 30s.
Okay.
Doesn't matter. He's still got a few more good years. I think the ship's just run its course there. He signed a pretty big deal, and he performed for the most part every year. Rangers as a whole, though, have been kind of going downhill.
Yeah, but are they putting the X on his back, saying that part of it's because of him?
No, they are looking to go in a different direction. They don't want to pay him the money he wants. It seems like he wants to get about $50 million for, I think it's a 5-year deal, so $10 million a year. Rangers don't sound like they want to pay him that money. Now, some other team that's closer to being, to the Stanley Cup, think of it this way. If we look at our list and take a team, I don't know, let's take the Pittsburgh Penguins at number 10. Now, Pittsburgh has Sidney Crosby. They have Malkin, and they're in the mix. They're not one of the top dogs. What if Panarin goes there? You are now talking 3 high potential scoring threats on that team. It's a gamble, and you got to pay them a lot of
But
money.
it's still a
That's
gamble.
going to affect your cap space to sign other guys. You're kind of mortgaging your future because Crosby's older, Malkin's older. Now you're adding this guy who's a little bit older. Is youth part of your rebuilding, or are you just willing to say, we're going to just keep taking shots and give up draft picks every year? Maybe. He's going to help a team potentially win a Stanley Cup.
Do you think the Penguins are in a spot to be able to get into the finals?
We'll save that for another episode because on one of my dream boards,
Okay.
as far as future episodes, I want to talk about teams who I think will be either buyers or sellers when it gets closer to that trade deadline, which is right after the Olympic break. So we'll hold on to that.
If they did have a serious contention, I could definitely see them bringing him on. Because if they could get the Stanley Cup this year, it'd be worth it, right? Right. But that'll definitely mess up future prospect. So they've got to make sure that if they did that, not saying that that's even in consideration, but if they did something like that, it would have to be worth it for them. So they'd have to make sure they've got their I's dotted and their T's crossed, I guess.
T's crossed for sure. Because if you put that kind of financial burden on a team, and let's say a team does that, and in the first round they get knocked out.
That would be absolutely horrific.
You mortgage your future to lose in the first round when you
That's
could have
what
just
I'm
let that
saying.
go and maybe picked him up or someone else up in the offseason or kept your draft picks.
So then what is Panarin going to do? Who could pay him what he wants? Or is he going to have to suck it up a little bit because nobody's going to pay him that amount of money? I guess that's remains to be seen.
That's the question that will be answered as the NHL turn.
You big dork.
All right, Jen. So we just went over the top 16 teams that this article brought out as far as the power rankings go, and we gave our thoughts on it. And again, we'll revisit this later on towards the end of the season to see who's still there, who's not there anymore. But right now, according to NHL.com, these are the top 16 teams in the NHL as far as power rankings go. Jen, you know who else has a very powerful ranking on the internet today?
I can't imagine who you're going to say.
There's a website, Jen, that's called My Card Post. Now, My Card Post is a sponsor of the Hockey Ant podcast, and it's a wonderful site. It's a very powerful site. The power lies within the fact that this website saves you money. How does it save you money? You're probably asking yourself right now.
I would like to be able to afford my eggs and my milk and my bread.
One way you can do that, Jen, especially if you're in the trading card world, is use My Card Post. My Card Post is a website that you can buy cards. You can sell cards. And here's where it's a powerful website and should be in the top power rankings of websites on the internet. If you go on the big platforms that sell things, they charge you double-digit figures to sell on their platform. Guess what My Card Post doesn't do?
What? Do tell.
They do not charge you anything when you sell a card. So if I sell a card to you for $1,000, I get to keep $1,000. Now, the only thing that this website asks from you is a monthly subscription, which most of them are under $20 a month. And you can save all that money to then put forth towards your bread, towards your milk, and towards your eggs that are really expensive today.
It's ridiculous.
The other part of My Card Post that makes it so powerful is you can not only buy and sell, but you can also trade cards. And as all of us old people know, When we were kids, one of the things we loved to do was trade cards. It's what you did. Mark, the owner of My Card Post, has allowed that to happen over the internet, where none of the other big platforms are doing this at all. We talked about being a powerful website. That's why My Card Post is a powerful website. So if you haven't already done so, go check out My Card Post. You'll save money, you'll have fun, and you might help them move up the power ranking chart of something, and that will make you feel good as well, too. So go check out My Card Post, a sponsor of the Hockey In Podcast. Jen, My Card Post, I got to say this. I'm hooked. I'm addicted to it. Every day I go on that site to see the new beautiful cards that are on there. I don't know if it's an obsession.
Every day, all day.
Every day, all day. Jen, we're a podcast. You would agree with that statement?
For the most part, we try.
We're not the only podcast out there. There are millions of podcasts out there. So we thought it would be interesting for segment number 2 is maybe go over a few podcasts that we each enjoy. This way we're spreading the love. So when they hear that we love their podcast, maybe they actually listen to our podcast and vice versa. But we're just trying to get it out there to people as far as what we like to listen to when we're not doing our podcast. So what we'll do now is we will go over a podcast or two and just talk about the different things that we like about it. If the other person hasn't listened to our podcast that we mentioned, they can ask questions. But we just want to put it out there as far as these are the podcasts that we're listening to.
Why don't you start us out?
I was going to say we usually start with ladies first, but not today. Today we're going to put, we're going to strike a blow to feminism and men
Oh.
first today. So
Oh my goodness.
that's right, ladies. I put it out there. It's a good thing. Probably not many ladies listen to this podcast, so that's a positive thing.
Hey, I'm here. What's the matter with you? What's the matter with you?
My number one podcast that I want to mention that I listen to on a pretty regular basis is a podcast called What Chaos. Now, for those of you who don't know what the podcast What Chaos is, it's a fast-paced, let's call it personality-driven podcast hosted by Pete Blackburn and DJ Bean. Now, these are two individuals who have been in this space for a number of years, who have recently kind of teamed up to do this podcast. And their vibe is basically, it's a NHL podcast, kind of like ours, where they'll do analysis, they'll do interviews, but they also kind of have a weird humor side to it, which is fun, as well as a different energy when it comes to the topics that they come up with. So it's not just a straightforward, here's what's happening in the NHL today. It's a lot of fun. These guys are a lot of fun to listen to. Now, their podcast, they usually release new episodes or clips Monday through Thursday during the week. They have a podcast, they have a YouTube channel, and they have a lot of social media material that they put out there when it comes to clips, so you can find them pretty easily. When it comes to the different people on this podcast, I mentioned Pete Blackburn. Pete is someone who started out covering hockey online through viral clips. He had, a comedic element to his commentary and was very social media driven when it comes to first reporting. So he was cutting his teeth on the internet when it came to social media before he started getting, let's call them higher gigs. He then ended up going on Fox Sports, where he covered the NHL, as well as pop culture sports stories that tied into the NHL with a comedic edge. So again, he's trying to be funny, trying to draw some light to it. He then moved on to CBS Sports, where he was the national NHL writer and video personality. And this expanded his exposure and allowed him to cover more things and for more people to see him. Finally, he ended up on the Dan Le Batard Show universe, where he hosted the Garbage Time podcast, where it was similar to What Chaos, but without the other personalities that are on there today. Now, I had actually seen him when he was on Fox Sports. That's where he first kind of came into my radar. He's a Boston kid. That's another reason why. So he was covering the Bruins majority of the time. So now the other guy, DJ, I actually knew of him very early on because he came from the WEEI network, which is Boston Sports Radio. He covered the Bruins for the most part, as well as other Boston sports. Now, he's a more analytical type of person and a little more, or let's call it deeper thinker. So you have Pete, who's kind of the comedian, the writer, but at the same time, very good at what he does. He digs into some material. He's a good reporter. You add in DJ, who comes from sports radio. And again, he has that analytical kind of mind. So they offset each other very well. The third member on the podcast is there. I guess we could call him producer, Sean DePaz, who again adds his own little wrinkle. He has a lot of personal opinions that he likes to inject into the show. So the combination of the three really make it an entertaining hockey show. For me, when I listen to a podcast, I can listen to them talk NHL anywhere. I can go and listen to TSN. I can go and listen to Elliot Friedman, and they're going to give me factual NHL material. These guys have turned it into, think of the Daily Show a little bit as far as this podcast goes when they're reporting on hockey. Now, just to give you an idea of some of the things they talk about, they were actually one of the first, I guess you could say, media sources that embraced the series Heated Rivalry. They were into it before it became popular. They would regularly talk with the individual who wrote the series as far as the books and then now the show itself, as well as the producer who's making the TV show. And again, this is before it became popular as it is right now. They have deep subjects. They cover what's going on in the NHL, and then they have subjects that have nothing to do with the NHL as well. For instance, on their last episode, they talked about a snack called Jumpies. Do you know what Jumpies are?
I have no idea, and I'm a little afraid, but go ahead.
I didn't know what Jumpies were either, but they went on to describe that Jumpies are an Australian snack. So from Australia, and they're basically a light, crunchy, chicken-flavored corn snack that are shaped like little kangaroos.
Okay, that's all sorts of wrong in all sorts of ways, but okay. Sure.
But they like it. They like it.
Okay.
So these are things you can hear. You can hear a lot of NHL talk. You can hear a lot of comical banter between them, as well as some weird facts, some weird stories, and then they have some great interviews on top of it.
Well, I love weird. Weird works for me.
So there's my podcast, What Chaos, when it comes to, again, NHL material from a comedic kind of slant.
Okay. Kangaroo, the other white meat. I don't know. That's
The other
very
pork.
strange, but okay. You know. I guess we're heading over to me now with mine, huh?
Hit us with what you got. Hit us with some deep intellectual podcast that you listen to.
Yeah, and you already know who I'm going to talk about, so you know it's not deep like that, but it's probably deeper than what you listen to. So I'm not a big podcast fan. I could take it or leave it.
But you host one.
But I host one. Well, I help host one. And I do it for the love of my husband and the love of hockey.
Uh-huh. You do it for the money.
The money, yeah, because we get so much. The girl that I am totally enamored with is Bailey Sarin. And she started all of this via YouTube. She started in 2013, and she was originally doing makeup tutorials. And the girl's no joke. She knows what she's doing. First of all, she's gorgeous. And if you want to check her out, it's Bailey, Bailey, Sarin, Sarian. From that initial YouTube channel, she started around 2019 or so with a new series. And the new series combined her love of makeup and all that goes with it with murder. Yes, murder. That is right up my alley. So she's a true crime junkie. And I am also a true crime junkie. So the stuff that she talks about, so much of it has never really been talked about. There's a lot of crazy stuff that's happened out there. She goes all the way back into, like English history to find these bizarre topics. She does it very well. She has had over 1 billion listens on her current podcast, Murder, Mystery, and Makeup. The biggest episodes have been about Jeffrey Dahmer and Ted Bundy. And those have been huge draws. And again, like I said before, murder mystery, I'm all in.
So here's a quick question for you. So she started doing makeup tutorials. Did she pivot and do the true crime as well? Or did she combine the two? So basically, is she on YouTube putting on makeup, telling you about true crime? Is that what her shtick is?
Yep. Now that she's on podcasts, now when I first started watching her, it was on YouTube. She didn't have a podcast quite yet. So I started watching her on YouTube, and that's what she would do. She would sit in front of the camera, putting on her makeup and talking to everybody while she was putting on her makeup, and she'd give little, okay, so I'm going to do this over here like this, and I'm going to put a line up this way to accentuate this, that, and the other thing, and then she'd be like, now back to the story. She still does that, but obviously with the podcast, nobody can see it. Nobody can see what she's doing. So it's less of the makeup and more on the story. And she is I think she's a really great storyteller, but it's because it's the way my brain thinks. I love the way she comes across. She's quite funny. She also is now I don't know if you knew that this was, a thing, the makeup and crime genre. It is a genre. There's a lot of people now that while they're putting on the makeup, they tell stories. She is the founder of all of that. She also founded Dark History, and that's been more recent. That deals with historic stories that nobody knows about. Well, I shouldn't say that nobody knows about. A lot of people have never really even heard of. For instance, she talked about the DuPont scandal and all of that. She goes into a great deal of explanation as far as why this happened, how this happened, and people actually work with her. So, when she says she's going to be going over this subject, she'll do the background work. She'll get the tapes. She'll get, the interviews, all that kind of stuff. So you're not just hearing her talk. You're also hearing actual interviews from people. She's gotten very big.
How often does she drop a new episode?
Between all of hers, they're normally once a week. So she's got 2 different shows. She's got the Murder, Mystery, and Makeup, and then she's got the other one, Dark History. So once a week she's dropping these shows. They're both blowing up. She's really made quite a name for herself. And like I said, I really appreciate the way she brings everything across. And if something doesn't seem right about the story, she tells you. She's very opinionated. She's not shy. As I said, I'm not a big podcast listener. I listen to my Audible. I like listening to stories. And that's why I love her so much, because she is just basically telling us stories. And I know a lot of people have said, be wary of the women that can listen to murder stories as they're falling asleep. Well, yeah, that's me. Sorry, not sorry. I mean, she has a great voice too, so it's easy to listen to. But yeah, she's one person that I can listen to for hours on end and be completely enthralled. She's very interesting. So I would say, you guys, if you're into true crime at all, check her out. Murder, Mystery, and Makeup.
I think a lot of people are into true crime. I mean, I don't think it's one of those topics that seems to be going away just because of the plethora of material that people can talk about and the new material that keeps popping up. I'm sure we're only scratching the surface when it comes to stuff like that. Now, you mentioned about someone's voice that you could listen to and, fall asleep to, and that's what this young lady could do. Jen, I'm going to give you one more podcast for me that's exactly one of the reasons why I like it. The podcast is called Soder, Soder. This is a podcast from Dan Soder. Now, for those of you who don't know who Dan Soder is, he's a stand up comedian, first and foremost. He is also an actor. He was on the television series Billions. And if you'll recall, his character was Maffei, the big, tall, goofy financial guy. So a lot of people know him from that TV show Billions. That's where I actually was first introduced to him. Then I find out that like I said, he's a comedian. So I checked out his material. Flash forward, he ends up going on a Sirius XM podcast called The Bonfire with himself and Big J Okerson. Now I started listening to that, and those two had such good chemistry early on that I could listen to their episodes all day.
Didn't he have something to do with Bert Kreischer too? Or am I thinking of something else?
They all kind of know each other. Bert
Okay, yeah.
Kreischer has been on their show a few times,
Okay,
and
gotcha.
again,
Yep.
they just kind of yuck it up. So they're in that comedian world, stand-up comedian world. Dan Soder was one of the main co-hosts along with Big J Okerson, and again, their chemistry was just really great. Their topics were interesting to me. For instance, one of the topics they would talk about was Corey Feldman decided to really start doing music. And they would look at it in the sense, now he wasn't good. If you've ever seen Corey Feldman, he is what he is. They went into it at first with the idea that they were kind of poking fun at him, but then they ended up really falling in love with his music from the aspect that it's so bad it's good. Meaning he believes what he's doing is so great, he can't see the forest through the trees. So they would kind of poke fun at that, but then at the same point, have appreciation for it because they always talked about it. And that's the whole thing. There's no such thing as bad press. It got to the point where Corey Feldman himself basically blocked them, would call them dirtbags, because he didn't understand what they were saying. That's where Dan Soder kind of came into my world between the show Billions and then on this show, The Bonfire. He then left The Bonfire and started his own podcast, which he drops every week. And it's essentially him sitting on a couch talking with a guest. It could be another comedian. It could be someone from the sports world. It could be his now wife, Katie Nolan, who I'll say this. Katie Nolan comes from media. She covered Boston sports, I believe. She had her own podcast. She was a reporter, but she's got a personality. And the two of them just click. They have some of the funniest discussions I've ever heard. So that's what got me interested. I loved him on those two previous things he was on. Once he started doing his own thing, I started listening to it. What I love about it is he covers material that I find entertaining, my age group. He's a little bit younger than me, but he does it in a way that I constantly find myself laughing. Then he does some of the greatest impressions I've ever heard. If you've ever heard him, he actually did an impression of Dave Chappelle to someone who knew Dave Chappelle very well over the phone and had them believing it was Dave Chappelle talking to him. He does Randy Macho Man Savage. He does a lot of voices. So he adds that element to the entertaining podcast as well. The big thing for me, as I said, the opening of this podcast is he has the voice that when I'm getting ready to go to sleep and I put the headphones on, for some reason, his voice just relaxes me. Now, he could be laughing and they could be going on, but when he's talking, he just has a voice that kind of soothes me down a little bit, and I enjoy the material that he's talking about. As I said, he's married to Katie Nolan. Those are the episodes you have to check out because when they were dating, the things they would talk about, she would call him out, he would call her out. It was like they were an old married couple, well, and then they eventually got married. Jen, just a real quick second one was Soder. It's the Dan Soder podcast. It's highly entertaining. He has some great guests on, and he's just a normal guy. He's that guy that if you were sitting at a game next to, you would have an interesting conversation with him, and you probably have a few laughs. His life story is entertaining and tragic, so that adds to that comedic element as well.
I have seen it. It is very good.
We've heard most comedians, the better comedians, have some kind of tragedy in their life. He's got some good moments that he shares pretty regularly. And the piece de resistance is his soothing voice that I could listen to for hours on end, and I typically do. So there's our podcast that we enjoyed listening to or listen to on a somewhat regular basis. Now, many of you are probably wondering to yourself, wait a minute, other than the What Chaos podcast, there's other ones that had nothing to do with hockey. Ha ha. Hence why we put it in the and section. But what podcasts are you listening to? We want to know because we want to, maybe there's one out there that we don't know that we should know about. Let us know. Hit us up on our Instagram page at Hockey and Podcast. Let us know, what are you listening to other than our podcast, right? I mean, I think everybody's listening to our podcast, as we said.
Oh, everybody is. Yes.
Everybody. And let us know what we're missing out on in the world of podcasting.
Everybody. The more bizarre, the better. Because if you're just, just run of the mill is kind of like, seen it, done it. The reason I like Bailey is because she's just off the wall. She is just off the wall and she tells it like it is. So if you got anybody that you're listening to who's an easy listen, but also is maybe a little to the left of normal, that would be fantastic. I love the oddities.
So you're looking for somebody that covers psychopathic clowns
Yes.
that have one eye, who only live in states that have the letter I in it, and only go on killing sprees on the 4th, the 12th, and the 21st of every month. Something like that, but just slanted.
We don't have to be that specific, but yeah, something odd, off the wall. I love that kind of stuff. Unique, strange.
And is now a good time to tell everyone that we are now transitioning our podcast from Hockey and Podcast. We're going to now be called Murder and ... right?
Murder and Hockey. Ha ha.
Murder in Hockey. Dun dun dun.
Oh no, let's not do that.
No, I can't do
No.
that. Okay, yeah, because we need a lot more murders in hockey.
Yeah, we don't really want that. No.
No, we don't. We don't want anyone to get murdered. We just want to hear about, the history and
We just want to hear the horror of all of the story about the murder. Because when you have to admit, I'm not the only one that listens to this kind of stuff. You may not listen to the podcast, but whenever there is a really good documentary on Netflix, you got to know both of us are like, ooh, did you see this? That's the next show. I mean, we got to watch that right now. That is one of those things. So Jenny and I both love the documentaries with the true crime stuff. Bring it on. It's good stuff.
I think you've just given us a new topic that we need to have on this show from time to time. Now, we did our movie review of Mystery Alaska, where we kind of went through the whole thing and what we thought about it. Jen, I think we got to do a murder true crime documentary and give our review of it.
Okay. Hey, let's do our most favorite ones. The ones that have stuck in our heads for a really long time and just won't leave. God knows there's a bunch of them.
There's so many. There
like are.
Just thinking about it now, one of my favorite ones, I mean, is the one I think that kicked off the true crime documentary love affair that we all have. That was the one on Netflix. Do you know which one I'm thinking of?
Which one? There's so many.
Making a Murderer.
Oh, yes. Oh, my goodness. You're right. We do need to do that. And it's not that we're gross and we're trying to, we're super happy that all these people this happened to all these people. That's totally not it. It's one of those deals where it happened. So let's now learn how, why, how to avoid it. It's a whole learning thing. It's not gruesome.
We do what everybody else does when they're watching those shows. We sit there, we listen to what happens, and then we just look at each other and go, can you believe that they didn't do this or that this person did that? So we're just taking that commentary, the couch commentary, and we're putting it on a podcast. Hence why from this point on, our podcast will no longer be known as Hockey and Podcast. It'll be known as From the Couch and Podcast.
I have a feeling there's probably already something named like that.
Probably. Well, everybody, after that little display of intelligence, I guess we could say
Verbal vomit.
verbal, verbal rallying back and forth, we're going to end this podcast because it's really cold and it's time for hot chocolate.
Sounds good to me. When are you making it?
No, you're making it. That's just, I have a podcast I have to produce,
ain't right.
So.
That ain't right.
People, if you enjoyed this episode, check out our other episodes. You can find it on such places as Spotify, Apple, or now on YouTube. Jen, we're on YouTube.
We are.
They're not going to be able to see our pretty faces, but they're going to hear this interesting material. So we just gave them another media source to draw in the millions of people that are dying for a podcast that talks about other podcasts that they kind of listen to from time to time on their own podcast.
You really lost me with that. You kept talking and it felt like you just talked in a round circle. So, okay, whatever you say.
And that's what you can get from our episodes of the Hockey and Podcast. So if you haven't catch up with the past episodes on those different sites. We drop a new episode every single Wednesday. So be sure to put on the alarm so that you can hear when the next podcast comes out where we talk about making a murderer potentially. Or how many goals is Connor McDavid or Connor Bedard going to score by the end of this year? You never know what you're going to get on this weird little podcast. If you could, give us a follow, give us a subscribe, give us a like. It's that whole algorithm thing to get us out there to more and more people. Jen, episode 9 is now in the books. Is there anything else you want to add to this episode before we give our final adieus?
Not much, but if anybody's got any kind of in with the snow and the cold berries and whatnot that are making it so freezing in New England, it'd be nice if you put a word in and said, bring spring a little early, maybe. But other than that, we're good to go.
So for the Hockey and Podcast, I'm your host, Jay. That's Jennifer. I'm going to give you the final adieu, everybody. Adieu.